Heidi, can you tell us, for people that don't know, a little bit about how you define yourself, what you're passionate about? Who is Heidi?
I don't know, I'm pretty cruisy. I think people that know me know that I try not to take life too seriously, try to do fun stuff all the time. I'm passionate about just being myself. I think that's one thing that my mum gave to me. It's never conform, but not a real serious one, I think I just like to chillax, and I don't like to do things that other people do. I just like to do what I want, really. So I think everyone that knows me knows that I'm just pretty chilled, and I like to have a laugh. And
yeah, I think the word that springs to mind for me in describing you would be authentic. But tell me about some of the things you're passionate about. What is it that gets you out of bed in the morning?
I love helping people. I think the field that I work in, people with spinal cord injury, is a big thing for me. I like showing people that there's more to life than one thing that you're thinking or something that you grew up with. There's just so much more out there, whether it's just changing little bits of your lifestyle or finding little hobbies that you like. Like, I love music. It drives me to do everything and helps you through ups and downs. And I also love drawing and tattoos and all sorts of stuff. I'm a very creative. I was born on the cusp of Aquarius and Pisces, so I'm a bit of a split personality and out there. But I'm just really out there, and I like to change people's minds and perception of what it's like having a disability, really.
I think your star sign might have changed, by the way, because recently they discovered another planet and they've realigned all the star signs.
No.
Look that up. Okay, so can you give us an insight into your life before your injury, and then talk to us about what happened with your injury?
Yeah, prior to my injury, I led a really different lifestyle, actually. I think people that know me now probably don't recognise me if I go back to my hometown. Although I was still creative and doing hairdressing and screen printing, I was kind of on a path of partying. I was dating someone for 6 years since I was 16, so I kind of didn't know any different, came from a broken home, and I just, blamed the whole world and had fun doing it, I suppose. And motorbikes were my life. I rode everywhere. My mum rode as well. So, I think I just wanted to break every rule possible. I'm still kind of like that, but not as hectic.
Bit of a rebel.
Yeah, I know. I was naughty all the time, but at the time it felt like it was worth it. I wasn't really on a path anywhere. I think that's what my mum saw in me a lot. I was just kind of dragging along with my ex-partner and not kind of achieving anything, and had no goals in my life. So I think when it got to the point where my injury happened, that changed my life quite a bit.
How old were you when you had your injury, Heidi?
22. I've been through quite a few jobs. I was just kind of going from job to job. I hadn't travelled anywhere. I didn't finish school either, due to me breaking rules and stuff like that. So I don't know, I was kind of just a dero, I suppose. I don't know, what's another word for that?
A free spirit.
Yeah, free spirit, but not in the right way, I think. I had the right morals and values, but I wasn't making something of myself, and I wasn't making my mum proud. So it was just my brother and I. So for him to travel the world and do what he loves, and then me just being silly all the time. I wasn't in a very good place, actually.
And then talk us through your injury and how you had your accident.
So I was in the city riding, and my mum came out and met me out there, and we were riding back. I remember the day being so hot and just being super sweaty in my jacket, and we stopped in Wollongong just to grab a drink and cool down a bit. And then I said to Mum, I'm going to head home, and she said, yeah, I'll meet you there. And I just stopped at my mate's place, and that was the last time I would ever walk, just seeing if she was home. And then she wasn't home, so I got closer to home, probably like 30 seconds from my house. And as I was going in a roundabout, I was riding my motorbike. This guy came from my left and didn't give way to me, and he T-boned me and then bulldozed me into the guardrail. So I had broken neck, all my, from T2 to T11 was fractured, the whole left side of my body was fractured. And then, it's just little bits I remember from there. I don't remember much of what happened after that, maybe until I woke up in Sydney where they took me to Wollongong Hospital, did all the scans, and then said she has to go to Sydney now with a punctured lung. So it was kind of a bit scary at that point because you didn't know if you were going to make it or if I'd be here. So I think when I woke up in ICU with a breathing machine and everything on it, that was really scary, I think, because I didn't get the whole life flashing before you kind of thing, but you kind of think of all the things that you did before and you're like, I'm never going to be able to do any of that stuff.
Yeah, okay. Heidi, is there any struggle with the fact that it was somebody else's fault? I guess I think of my own injury and I think, I was driving my own vehicle and I made my own decisions and I've got to live with the outcome of that. Whereas your injury was somebody else's fault. Like he obviously didn't see you and just drove straight into the intersection and, nothing that you could have controlled to influence that outcome.
Yeah, it's weird. I think, I think straight off the bat you're angry already. He was pretty resistant to care or apologise, or he just didn't care at all. And he admitted he was on methadone and marijuana, so it kind of put a little bit of a twist on it. I think I was just angry that I didn't know this guy, but he happened to live right behind me, so we were both going to the same place. And I blamed him probably for the first year or so, just because, as you would know, that first couple of years is so hard to adjust to that. So, the whole time before I had my court case, I just was, I don't know, I kind of got to a point where I realised that wasn't going to change anything. It wasn't going to change the situation, it wasn't going to change me. And if I continued down that path, it was going to change me in a bad way. So I was just going to be really angry and probably be exactly where I was before.
Yeah, I think I realised along the way that it's a very expensive exercise doing the what ifs, because somehow you have to get back to where you are now anyway, and it doesn't actually help to work out, if you'd done something slightly differently. But I guess I wondered whether that was any different for you, knowing that it wasn't your decisions, it was actually somebody else. But sounds like it's still pretty similar in that that's still an expensive exercise to start thinking about the what ifs and
Yeah, and I think too, I think as a motorbike rider, and lots of motorbike riders that you meet in a chair know that this is a risk for us, and this might happen one day, or it could be worse. We could not be here. So I think, when I looked at that and went, that's not going to change what happened, this was probably going to happen to me anyway, riding a motorbike, whether I'm a good rider or not. So I think you just copped on the chin, really.
Okay, so on a more, I suppose, positive note, what does your life look like now? Talk to me about relationships and family and what you're doing with your life now.
Life's good now. I did, the work that I do now, doing peer support and mentoring and kind of workshops for people with disability is totally different from what I ever thought I would do. Prior to my injury, I was like, I don't want to talk to people and I'm me and I can do what I want. And now it's so nice to be able to pass on experiences without judgment and just say to people, look, things can get better, but it's up to you to make that kind of decision when you're ready. But that kind of experience I get to pass on. I'm with my partner who I've been with for about 9 years, and we actually went to high school together when I was walking. So it was a bit weird when we first got together and I opened the door and he went, oh, you're down there now. That was a big adjustment, but it's been really good. He's really supportive and he's amazing, and he doesn't do anything for me or make me feel any less of a person, which is really cool. We just live life and we just have fun and do whatever we want, really. It's just, I'm so different to what I was before, in the sense that I was really, really negative prior to my injury. And like I said, I was out against the world and it was everyone else's problem and nothing was my fault, and just never took any responsibility. And since my injury, it's really changed me as a person and made me realise that there's more to life and there's more to people, and everyone has their own story. And I think that's what I like about what I do now for work, is getting to know people from all walks of life and just, you know, hear about people and lives and different choices. It's really cool.
I guess if you think about, like, you wouldn't wish a spinal cord injury on your worst enemy, but if you think about silver linings or anything possible that positive that could possibly have come out of your injury, it sounds like it's given you some direction in terms of helping other people that you probably described as being a bit directionless earlier on pre-injury, and now, you know, you're pretty firmly set on this path of helping other people, which I think is pretty cool in terms of a direction.
Yeah, it's good. I think I never say to people, you know, I love being in a chair and I wouldn't have it any other way, but I wouldn't change my injury happening for anything, because that's, you know, the relationships that I've built from this, and I didn't really have a relationship with my mum before, and now we're just inseparable. You know, I wouldn't give that up for anything. Yes, it would be easier to not be in a chair and come to that realisation, but I think it takes something really life-changing to literally change a life and change your outlook. But again, that's if you want to. You can go either way. And I'm glad I went down this path, and I'm happy now.
Cool. Okay, so can you talk a little bit about grief and loss that was, I suppose, associated with your injury, and just, yeah, talk to me about your understanding of grief and loss.
Yeah, I think, you know, when I was 22 at the time, I'd actually been through quite a lot in my life in terms of family and things like that. So I felt like at the time I had a pretty good hold on it, and I took to the chair really well, but then, you know, things kind of dawned on me when my friends started dropping off. And I think the loss for me was not so much that I wasn't going to walk again, it was, you know, my friends don't even want to do stuff with me now because it's too hard, and, you know, you have to put the chair in the car, and, you know, and I think that was a bit of me holding back a lot as well, because I think although you say that about friends and stuff, but if you're not ready to kind of do that, then I think that adds to your grief and loss. So for me, it was more losing my lifestyle than losing my ability to walk. And that was huge for me, because my lifestyle was everything. I just wanted to party, I wanted to go to the pub, stay at my mate's place, and run amok. And, you know, I used to be a liftie at the Snow, so can't do that in a chair. That's like literally impossible to do. So yeah, for me, I just kind of lost a sense of myself in the beginning, and I just didn't kind of know what to do at all.
Yeah, right. You talked a little bit earlier about just those down days, and I guess the question is really, do you still find yourself grieving now at this point in your journey?
Yes. It depends, I suppose. You know, it's so cliche to say, but everyone's got their bad days. I just happen to be in a chair. And I'm so used to what I do now. So when I have those down days, that's just about what I do. But, you know, I lost my brother recently, and that kind of made me go a fair bit down a dark hole, and being in a chair kind of added to that. And I was clearly losing focus on what was important at the time. So, you know, when I think of losing him, and then I'd have a bad day, and then I'd go, and I'm in a chair, and I have to do this every morning, and you know, my leg's not sitting right, and you just kind of pick on everything about yourself. So I think when you're in those stages, it's really important to have a really good support network around you that know you really well, and just to give yourself a break, because you know, you can't do everything.
Yeah. I know you took a fair bit of time off work when you lost your brother, and you're obviously going through that grieving process. Can you compare that to, or contrast that to when you had your injury? Because often when I speak to people about the idea of grief and loss related to an injury, they don't really think of it in the same way as grieving losing a loved one, but you are losing a big part of who you are when you have an injury, and you're not the same person anymore. So you do go through a process of grieving, and I'm wondering from your perspective, having gone through both, whether there are any similarities or it's a very different grieving process.
It's so similar. It's not even funny. It's really, really similar, and I think that's what I had to support my mum through that. It kind of switched the relationship where I was the mother and she was the daughter, and I got to see kind of what she did with me when I had my injury, and it was very eye-opening for me to see what it's like to take care of someone. I don't have children, and I don't know what that's like to have someone to look after. So it's so similar. Even though I kind of had to look after her, I still had to look after myself. And I found that I was in the same place. I was very anxious. I kind of didn't want to go outside. I felt like everybody knew, everyone was looking at me. It's one thing to be in a chair and people are looking at you. That's pretty obvious. But when you lose someone, you still have that same feeling. People are looking at me, oh, they must know that I lost my brother. It's no way they would know. But it's just a mind games that you play with yourself,
Well, it was on TV, and a lot of people hide.
I know, so I know.
But some few people knew.
But some that don't, it's people that I wouldn't know from a bar of soap would have no idea. But it kind of, I think now that I'm older and it's been 11 years since my injury, I take it in a different way now. And now when I look at people, anybody, it could be anyone can be going through grief, and you don't know. People have to pay bills and they have to go to work, and you have to just get it done. So I think when you have your spinal cord injury, it's a lot easier to have that time and for people to understand that you're going through something. But, when you lose someone that's really close to you, the recovery from that's a little bit different, because people go, that was like a month ago, is it a big deal? But it's forever, you don't know until you go through something like that. And I think it was funny how similar that process was for me.
That's really interesting. Okay, so can you think about any positive changes or personal growth that you might have experienced in your life since your injury, either because of your injury or despite your injury? And tell us about those sort of positive things or the personal growth that's come from it.
Heaps of personal growth. Prior to my injury, a lot of drinking, drugs, partying. And after I had my injury, we couldn't live in that house anymore. So we had to, we just made the decision, my mum and I, to move to the city. And that decision just to kind of take a risk and leave it all behind and, move somewhere with no one that I know, no friends or anything, that made me grow so much, because I just went, oh, there's more than, there's other people and everyone's really nice. I didn't have a great upbringing, and I think the relationships I had were very toxic, but that's all I knew. So to come somewhere new and become a whole, not a different person, but a better person. I think when you have your injury, it amplifies your personality. So I was kind of loud night going before, and now I'm just like, but I think a lot about stuff before I speak. I think before I had no filter. I said a lot, not all the time.
I was going to say, some people would still describe you as not having a filter.
But I don't know. I just see people really differently. I think that's the growth that I've noticed, is that I don't, I used to judge people straight away because I felt like they were judging me. And now, since my injury, I just really think about people now and go, I wonder what they've been through and where they've been, and if they've got kids and how they're feeling. And so it's just that personal growth for me, and my relationship with my mum as well. It's been pretty huge. That's probably the most positive thing I've seen, is like getting that relationship back with my mum, and really being there to support her, especially losing my brother. If I wasn't there, then you don't know what would have happened or what she would have done, because she was in a really dark place. So yeah, it's just being able to pass on my experience, I suppose, in a good way. Not, everybody does stuff different. So as long as you can give people little tips and tricks on life in general, whether they're in a chair or not, just sharing experiences with people.
I want to find out whether your injury, or whether you think of your injury having had a negative impact on your sense of meaning and purpose in life. So you sounded, what you described before, it sounded like you were a little bit directionless pre-injury anyway. That's obviously different for a lot of people, but just wanting to know whether you feel like the injury itself made you or had an impact on your sense of meaning and purpose for life.
I think it's natural that it does in the beginning. I didn't, like I said, riding a motorbike was my thing. So I thought, well, what am I going to do now? I'm just going to roll around like a muppet all day and just do nothing. And, I'm sick and I'm disabled and all these things kind of ran through my mind. But I don't think it has, but I think that's been my choice. And I think that's due to my mum being there, supporting me the whole time, pushing me all the way. Not over the top, but she knows me so well and we're very similar. So I just kind of didn't have time for negativity, to be honest. Like, it's just not the kind of person I am. I think you don't have the right support around you, then it can be very different. But I think it's up to you to surround yourself with the right people. So that doesn't happen. I think, like we said before, you get down days, but everyone gets down days, You kind of look at everything and go, it's all too hard. And, this lifestyle is so odd and people don't understand, people don't know what we do every day to come in to work or anything like that. But it's up to us to, I don't know, take it positive or negative. But I don't feel like it's had a negative impact for me at all.
Yeah, okay, interesting. Sometimes I'm thankful that people don't know what we have to do to come into work every day.
Unless it's going wrong.
Yeah. I think we've touched on this already, but maybe just tell me again, what makes life meaningful for you now? What gets you up in the morning, or what's important to you now?
What's important to me now is that, I'm just someone that doesn't want to give in. I don't want to let things beat me. And I feel like me doing what I do for work and really loving it instead of just working jobs for money makes a big difference. So me getting up every day, I know that I'm going to help people or not help people, but have conversations with people. That's kind of my passion now. It's just spreading knowledge, spreading awareness, and just letting people know that there's just more to life than whatever you're hung up on, whether that's been in chair or broken nail. Could be anything. I don't know. I just really like interacting with people now and seeing the world, and I find the world really weird. And although I'm only 33, I feel like an old lady sometimes where I'm like, get off your phone and look at the trees. So that's a big thing for me. I love looking at the world and nature and how humans interact and that kind of stuff.
Sounds like a different sense of appreciation for your environment and the things around you now.
Yeah, so different. And I never thought that, I don't know, I love technology and I love where it's going and I love what's being invented and stuff like that, but I hate that it's kind of taken over people. And I just, I wish people would stop a bit more and smell the roses and say good morning and, make eye contact with people. And so I love kind of passing older, the older generation, because they actually have a conversation with you and you hear stories you'd never hear elsewhere. Whereas now I find with younger, I kind of don't have that interaction. So I think it's really important for me to make sure that I keep true to myself and have conversations with people and spread knowledge and all that kind of stuff.
Makes me think of our mutual friend Rod McQueen always says, got to stop and smell the roses and appreciate the moment for what it is.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell me about what you're most proud of in terms of your post-injury recovery. So has having a spinal cord injury actually shown you things about yourself that were surprising or you didn't know?
Yeah, I'm just proud that I feel like I can make it through anything now. I feel like if I can make it through this, and all the stuff I've been through in my life, feel like it's made me more compassionate towards people. Although I'm hard exterior and people go, oh, just ice queen and you don't have any feelings. But I don't know. I try not to waste time on stuff that just really doesn't matter. I don't care. I just don't care about the little things anymore. I just want to live and do my thing. And at the moment, I don't know what my purpose in this world is. And I think losing my brother made that a little bit harder. What am I doing here? And what is all this? And what's going to happen? But I think going back to, my morals and values from my mum, it's just about being happy and doing what you love and living life.
I'm interested that you call out compassion as something that's developed or a strength as a result of your experience of spinal cord injury, because lots of people point to resilience or, being able to overcome adversity or those things. But I don't think often people say my compassion for other people has changed as a result of my injury. And I find that interesting.
Yeah, I think, I don't know. I think before my injury, I was very, like I said, I was very negative and why you want to talk to me about things? I was so abrasive and so aggressive. And now, I think the compassion's come more so since losing my brother because, you just don't know what people are going through, and it could be anything, and it's all relative. Mine happens to be a spinal cord injury, which is quite life-changing, but it can be anything for anyone, and you don't know what people are feeling and what's just happened 5 minutes before they've seen you. So, although I've overcome adversity and found myself ended up being pretty successful in a chair, it's just not my focus. I love helping people and I love showing people that there's more to life than having a disability, but my main focus is not to prove everybody wrong and I can do that, and that's just not my style, I think. I just want people to know that, yes, I'm in a chair, what's your thing? Do you have a bad head, eh? It's just like that, yeah. That's just the way I think. I'm like, oh, you and I are very similar. If there's stairs, then we'll just either pop up or down them or get someone to carry us. It's not a big deal. I think that's the kind of attitude that's a nice one to have instead of pointing out what's wrong in the world. I just like pointing out that, yeah, that's cool, we'll deal with it. It's fine.
I think you need those people in the world that are crusading for disability rights, but I feel like I don't have the time for that.
No.
I'm too selfish to worry about. I'd rather just find a way to solve this problem now and move on so I can get on with my day and my life.
Well, the organisation that I work for now are big change makers in the advocacy, systemic advocacy for people with disability. So I say to them all the time, I say to the policy team, I am so thankful that you exist because I can't be bothered doing that. And I love that there's people like that. Not everyone's built to do that. I'm just not that. They're amazing at what they do, and it's a particular skill as well to do it in the right way and not just seem like you're whinging and you're negative about stuff. So they do it really well, and I'll just leave that to the people that do it really well.
Just be happy that's not me, but
yes,
that's okay.
And thank you for everything you've done.
I want to know if there's anything else about yourself that you feel like you needed to work on after you had your injury, as in, I needed to work on a particular character trait or...
Negativity was a big one. I was very pessimistic and, we'd talk about anything and I'd just see the bad side. Or I'd predict or have a scenario how it was going to turn out. Well, it's going to be bad anyway. That was a big thing I had to work on, I think. And I don't know, that's probably from coming from a background of broken home, and the whole way that happened was just a horrible situation. And I haven't had anything to do with my father for 20 years or so. And it's done me the world of good, to be honest, because he's very similar to that personality. So I think I picked up on those traits, and I think having mum so close and building on that relationship which is another thing I really wanted to do. It was just my brother, my mum and I. So for me to not have a relationship with either of them around that time, I was just kind of on my own going rogue. So I really wanted to work on positivity, but not sickly positivity. You know, I'm not happy all the time, and everything's not amazing. But I do like to see the silver linings and go, that's cool, you know, we'll make it work. And I don't know, I'm just kind of mellow, I suppose. It's done really good to work on that kind of stuff throughout the years.
That mention of those relationships is probably a good segue to the next question that I had for you, which is just wanting you to reflect on your life and think about what relationships and friendships have been important to you and really what makes them so important.
My mum, and I talk about her all the time, just like my best mate. We're exactly the same personality. I lost heaps of friends when I had my injury because all we did was party, and it's almost like, when I look at it now, we didn't really know each other because we'd either be on alcohol or drugs. So when I had my injury and I sobered up, I went through a whole detox period in the beginning, and my friends started visiting, I kind of was like, I don't even know these people. And then I had people that I've been friends with and lived with for 6 years that never even visited at all, and didn't even call. So it kind of made me rethink that whole, what's important to me when I look at friends or best friends. And it narrowed down my group a lot, but it was a good thing, I think, because that helps you realise, when you go through high school and stuff and you want to be friends with everyone, I've got 5,000 friends on Facebook. That so doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter at all, because if these people don't know you and they're not there for you and you're not there for them and you don't know them, then what's the point? What's the point? It just made me rethink those kinds of friendships, keeping people that really know me for who I am and that actually contribute to my lifestyle.
Yeah, right. I have heard a lot of people talk about the impact of their injury on their group of friends, and I think that's mostly because what you do together is what helps develop friendships, and obviously that changes in terms of what you're physically able to do once you've had your injury. I'm interested in how you navigated that sort of change of that realization that you don't really know these people or they're not actually your friends. Like, did you do anything different in terms of thinking about those relationships, or just discard those ones and form new relationships? Or how did you navigate that?
I'm pretty quick on just going like, it's not working. It's not working for me. And I've got other stuff to do. But that's just like, that's, I know, it is though, it is. I don't know, it was hard in the beginning because, like you said, your friends come from the lifestyle that you live. So, I lived on the beach and we go to the beach and go cruising in cars, and I couldn't do any of that stuff as easy as I could do before. So yes, I could do it. And my friends were like, you can totally do it. Come on, let's go. And we'll go to old mate's house and we'll do this. But it just, I don't know. I kind of went, I don't want to do any of that stuff anymore. So it kind of all happened at the right time. I don't know. It was really hard in the beginning, but then when I just up and left and moved to the city, that I found that really easy because I had a lot of stuff dealing with the injury. So my focus was on that and getting back to who I really am, rather than what I portray to people when I'm with my friends at that time. So I hadn't been myself for a long time, so I didn't even know who I was. So my mum was like, you need to focus on yourself and figure out who you are and what you want to do. So in the end, it was actually quite easy. It was easy because I moved away and I didn't have a choice. So
sounds like it forced you to
pretty much
this journey of self-discovery to work out who you actually are and what you want to do.
I know, it sounds weird. I should write a book.
You should write a book.
Nothing.
Okay, I want to, talk to you now about what activities in life you find meaningful, or what gives you meaning in life. And I think you've touched on this a fair bit already. Meaning, purpose, passions, they're all kind of interlinked. But what is it that's meaningful to you now? And what do you get that sort of benefit or happiness from?
I think, when I do education sessions in the hospital, in the spinal units, we talk about health and well-being and emotional well-being. And I always try to tell people it's just about doing those little things that make you happy. And when I had my injury, I just dyed my hair the day before. And I was devo because I'm like, I've got this beautiful purple hair. And it started to fade. And the first thing I thought when I woke up in ICU was, how am I going to wash my hair? Which is like, it sounds silly, but I think it's stuff that makes you happy. And I think it's stuff that's true to who you are. And to get through a life-changing event, whether it's a spinal cord injury or whatever it might be, I think it's really important to do those things that make you happy inside so that you can portray that outside. Because if you don't kind of do those things, then you're not really going to be happy. So for me, in the hospital, I was dyeing my hair and like the whole bathroom was blue one day and then it was red another day, doing my nails and listening to music. So it's just those little things. I might be doing a crossword or going to have a coffee. But things like that are really meaningful to me, and it's not, I don't dye my hair so everyone can see what colour it is the next day. I dye it because it's fun. And, I say if my hair falls out, I don't care, but I feel like I'll really care if it falls out. But it's just, I don't know, I find meaningful so individual. It's whatever makes you happy. And I think it's really important to stick to those things. And there's a difference between doing things that are meaningful that make you happy and doing things because you feel like you have to. So, when you're in rehab and they're like, come on, we'll go outside and we'll do that. And that wasn't meaningful and happy to me. I felt like I had to get to the root of who I was, do those things like dye my hair, do my makeup, do my nails. And then I got to a point where I went, okay, I feel okay now to go outside and face the world and not because of what I look like, but because I feel better. So meaningful to me is just doing things that make you happy, whatever it might be.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you were talking earlier about people saying, but you can still do this, let's get out and go and do this, you can still do it. I think back to my journey and think, well, a lot of things that I was trying to prove to myself that I could do when I had my injury, but just because I could do them didn't mean I wanted to do them. But I went through this whole journey of like, okay, I've got to go skydiving, I've got to go bungee jumping, I've got to do all these things that people think that someone in a wheelchair can't do, just so I can prove to them and to myself that I can do them.
I think it's I'm sure you cut this out, but I think that's a big male thing. Like, in a spinal cord injury. It's just a very different, I know heaps of females that have done that also, but I don't know. I just, I went to the pub one night and I went there with someone that's been in a chair for quite a long time. I'd only been in a chair for a couple of years, I think. And he was carrying his beer in his lap and he popped down the stairs and he's like, why don't you just do what I do? And I went, I've got nothing to prove to anybody, mate. Like, if that guy can carry my beer, then I'll do that even if I'm not in a wheelchair. Like, I don't know. I feel like, I suppose it comes down to my support again. And my lifestyle before, I wasn't hugely active and I wasn't doing lots of sport. So before my injury, it kind of didn't, I suppose that's why I took to it a bit well, because it's not like I was going for runs and stuff clearly before. So it didn't make that much of an impact in terms of being active and doing sport and everything. And that was a big focus of rehab, was you've got to play basketball and you've got to do this. And, I ended up just doing archery and rifle shooting, things where I don't move. And they're amazing, but it helps with my focus. So I really like doing it. I don't know.
All right. My favourite question to finish on. If you had your life over and you could change the past, would you get rid of your injury? And if yes, what would you have lost? Yeah, I'm interested as to whether you would change it for a start, as in...
Look, I think I look at my injury as like a message from the universe to go, oi, just get your ass into gear and figure out what you're doing. If the universe had just sent me a letter, that would have been great.
But you might not have read it.
Probably not. It would have been like, can't you text me? It's not. I don't know. I just, it's so weird to say. It's what I said before. I wouldn't change what I learnt from this for anything. And I'm very lucky that I get to work where I work because of my injury. It's only because of my injury. If I could do everything without my injury, I don't know if I'd be the same person. I think I would go straight back into being really selfish and I can do whatever I want. Everything's really easy. So I think I would lose a lot. I think it would, I humbled myself a lot after my injury. So I think I would lose that pretty quickly.
Yeah, right. Is there anything else you wanted to share, Heidi, or anything you can think of that, if people are struggling with meaning and purpose in their lives and trying to learn from your experience of, going through your injury and other experiences in your life, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I think it's just making sure you take care of yourself first, because you can't kind of go out and let yourself loose in the world until you really take care of yourself. And that's not acting like everything's fine and, oh yeah, it's easy and I just do this every day and it's fine. You really have to look at it for what it is, really get to know your body and how it works. But just do all those things that really make you happy, or find new things that might make you happy. Talk to people and get to know other lifestyles, and you might meet someone with the same injury, but you'll have two totally different stories to tell.
I think just from getting to know you over the last few years, the thing that I find really endearing about you is that you seem to know what those things are that make you happy, even if they are small things like dyeing your hair or doing your nails or whatever it is. You've worked out what things make you happy and you do those things, and not everybody has that, or not everybody knows what things are that make them happy, and that's kind of what the search is all about, and why people are questioning what this life is all about and what I should be focusing on and what I should be doing, because it's not always easy to know what makes you happy, but you seem to have figured that out, and it's quite an endearing quality. So.
Thanks, Mum. Again. Yeah, I know it's hard. I'm not big on. People have tried to get me in the water for 11 years. You'll love it, swimming, it's amazing, you'll feel amazing. And I'm like, no, I got to brush my hair. Like it's just not my thing. But I think there's some people out there, and if you're really, really struggling to find things that make you happy, I think it's really important to just try new stuff. When I first got home, I did something different every day, just so, and I was happy by that point. I'd kind of come to terms with it a fair bit, but I just wanted to do something different every day. There might be something, a little gems that you pick up from people that might make you happy and go, oh, I'll give it a try. The painting and drinking wine at the same time. Like, there's all sorts of stuff out there. I think, get outside your comfort zone if there's something you can't find that makes you happy, or if what you did before doesn't make you happy anymore.
Thanks, Heidi. You've been very open and sharing all of these things, and I appreciate that.
No worries. Thanks for having me. Cool.